The general at Fort Ridgewater ruled the base with an iron voice, a sharper ego, and a reputation for humiliating anyone he considered beneath him. When a quiet Navy SEAL arrived for check-in with his German Shepherd at his side, the general pounced, mocking them both in front of stunned soldiers. He thought it was just another display of power. He didn't know the man he belittled had come with a purpose, and minutes later, his entire world would crumble. Before we dive in, tell us where you're watching from, and if this story moves you, make sure to subscribe for more powerful stories like this one. Logan Hart, the 34-year-old Navy SEAL with sandy brown hair and a calm, unassuming presence, drove his dark gray SUV along the winding two-lane road that led to Fort Ridgewater, a quiet Army installation tucked between rolling pine forests in northern America. His German Shepherd K9, Atlas, sitting tall in the passenger seat with watchful amber eyes. Logan, as transfer orders described him as a SEAL, placed on temporary assignment for administrative reassessment, a vague phrase that invited whispers, but today it was exactly the cover the task force needed. Atlas, the disciplined and intelligent shepherd, wore a simple blue vest marked as a support animal, though his posture, focus, and precise movements revealed far more than the vest claimed. Logan kept one hand on the wheel and one resting gently on Atlas's neck, grounding himself in the steady presence of his partner as the gate guards waved them through. The base looked ordinary, almost sleepy rows of low brick buildings, officers walking briskly to briefing rooms, jeeps rumbling past, but beneath the calm surface, Logan could almost feel tension humming like an unseen wire. The moment he stepped out of his SUV near the administration building, he felt eyes on him. Soldiers glanced politely, some curiously at his dog, others with quiet sympathy born from the assumptions surrounding any service animal. Logan kept his stride even, measured, deliberately matching the role of the reassigned SEAL who just wanted to stay unnoticed. But he wasn't here to be unnoticed. He was here because someone on this base was funneling government equipment into private hands, and Task Force Meridian had planted him directly in the lion's den. His first encounter came faster than expected. As he checked in at personnel, signing forms under humming fluorescent lights, the door swung open with the abruptness of a storm front. General Marcus Red, the 58-year-old commanding officer with neatly combed steel-gray hair and a chest covered in ribbons, stepped inside with the heavy, loud confidence of a man accustomed to being the most important person in any room. Behind him trailed two officers, both younger, both trying hard to mimic the general's hardened posture. Red's sharp gaze swept the room until it landed on Logan and stayed there. "Hart," Red barked, his tone making the clerk behind the counter straighten nervously. "The reassigned SEAL." Logan offered a respectful nod. "Yes, sir." Atlas sat at his heel, perfectly still. Red's lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. "And this must be your accessory," he said, staring down at Atlas with undisguised disdain. "I thought SEALs were tougher than needing pets to hold their hand." The room went silent, a thick, uncomfortable halt in the air. Logan kept his expression neutral, the picture of quiet professionalism. "He's my partner, sir," he replied steadily. "He's fully cleared." Red scoffed. "Cleared? For what fetch?" His officers chuckled, eager to align themselves with the general's mockery. Atlas didn't move, didn't flick an ear, didn't react in any way that could be misinterpreted as aggression. He remained a perfect statue of discipline. Logan simply said, "Atlas is trained to assist within my duties, General." "Duties?" Red stepped closer, invading the space between them, his voice carrying a low, needling amusement. "You're here on reassignment because you couldn't keep up with your last posting. I read the file. Administration reassessment usually means underperformance." Logan allowed the insult to pass. The role required it. Red smirked again, satisfied. "This base doesn't coddle weakness, Hart, and we certainly don't lower standards for a dog." Atlas's amber eyes lifted to the general's face for just a moment, calm, steady, observant. Red waved a dismissive hand. Get him out of my building. We run a tight ship here, and I don't need mutts cluttering the walkways. Logan guided Atlas out without a word. But the eyes of everyone in the lobby followed them with a mix of disbelief and discomfort. News traveled fast on military bases, and Red's disdain would spread like wildfire. Logan didn't mind. It would only make the general underestimate him more. Hours later, in his assigned quarters, a small, tidy duplex near the edge of base housing, Logan sat on the narrow couch while Atlas lay at his feet, head resting lightly on Logan's boot. The sun dipped low, turning the windows orange. Logan pulled out a small encrypted tablet from his gear bag. The moment it powered on, a secure connection blinked alive, and a single message appeared from his task force handler. Status? Logan typed. Contact made. General targeted morale assault. Mocked Atlas. Publicly. Handler. Good. Confirms personality profile. Proceed. Watch for Ray D. S routine after 2000. He doesn't know you re-on him yet. Logan slid the tablet away and exhaled, rubbing Atlas's neck. You hear that, buddy? He doesn't know us yet. Atlas lifted his head and gave a quiet breath through his nose, the shepherd's equivalent of a confident answer. When darkness settled, Logan and Atlas moved quietly across the base. Logan's limp part of the cover was gone now, replaced by a purposeful stride. They reached the supply complex, a cluster of fenced warehouses where Task Force Meridian suspected the illegal transfers were happening. Sure enough, there was movement. A truck idled behind one of the warehouses, tailgate open, boxes stacked neatly inside. Logan crouched behind a generator shed, Atlas beside him, silent and alert. A man stepped into view, Colonel Avery Knox, the 46-year-old logistics officer with short black hair and a stiff posture. He was Red's right-hand man. And this late-night loading operation was the first real proof Logan needed. Knox spoke quietly to two civilians loading crates, his tone clipped, impatient. Logan recognized the pattern instantly. Staged transfers, after-hours movement, no oversight paperwork, classic signs of government equipment being redirected to private buyers. Logan tapped his earpiece. Meridian, this is Hart. Visual on Knox. Unauthorized movement confirmed. Copy. Came the whisper. Do not engage. We're logging timestamps. Continue shadowing. Logan watched for several minutes, memorizing faces, documenting with a small micro camera. Then something unexpected happened. The loading stopped. Knox checked his watch, looked around cautiously, and stepped inside the warehouse alone. Logan frowned. What are you hiding, Colonel? He signaled Atlas with a subtle gesture. The dog lowered himself closer to the ground, eyes locked forward, ready. Logan waited until the civilians drove off, leaving the warehouse dimly lit and silent. Then he and Atlas slipped closer, sticking to shadows until Logan reached a side door, left slightly ajar. He peered inside. Knox stood over a metal case on a workbench. He opened it, and the glint of unauthorized encrypted communication gear shone under the hanging lamp. Logan's breath stilled. This wasn't small-time theft. This was coordinated, high-level, the kind that destroyed careers, reputations, and entire commands. And General Marcus Red was at the center of it. It was all Logan needed to know. Atlas, he whispered. We've got them. And somewhere inside Fort Ridgewater, a powerful general had no idea that mocking the wrong navySEAL and his dog had just started a countdown to the moment he would lose everything. Logan Hart, the 34-year-old Navy SEAL with sandy brown hair, remained perfectly still outside the warehouse as Atlas, the GermanShepherd K9, lowered himself into a quiet, poised crouch beside him, the dog's amber eyes fixed on the dim corridor inside. Logan listened first to the hum of overhead lights, then to the steady rhythm of Colonel Avery Knox. The 46-year-old black-haired logistics officer, pacing near the metal case on the workbench. Every movement Knox made confirmed Logan's suspicions. The man wasn't transporting basic supplies after hours. He was routing encrypted communication hardware meant only for restricted operations. Logan silently eased back from the door, signaling Atlas with a subtle hand gesture. The dog moved fluidly, stepping back into the shadows without a sound. "We have enough for tonight," Logan whispered in the darkness. Atlas responded with a quiet breath, the shepherd's controlled acknowledgement. Logan crossed the narrow lot, staying inside the blind spots he'd mapped earlier that afternoon, and returned to the wooded trail parallel to the storage complex. The cool night breeze carried the faint scent of pine and dry gravel, and Logan used the quiet walk to think. General Marcus Red, the 58-year-old steel-haired base commander, was arrogant, controlling, and obsessed with appearance traits that made him careless about the people under him. But corruption on this scale required more than ego. It required coordination. Knox was clearly the operational arm. Red had to be the shield, the authority figure who could shut down questions, redirect paperwork, and intimidate subordinates into silence. Logan reached the edge of the officer housing loop and slowed, the glow of streetlights washing over the neat rows of duplexes. His own building sat at the far end, isolated, giving him just enough privacy to operate. As he approached, he saw someone waiting by his door. A slim figure in uniform, tapping their foot anxiously. It was Captain Nira Dalton, the 39-year-old brunette operations officer known for her meticulous attention to detail. Logan had spotted her earlier in the day during check-in. Now she stepped forward, her voice low and urgent. "Senior Chief Hart?" She glanced at Atlas with clear respect. "I need a word." "Inside, please." Logan assessed her quickly. Dalton had a reputation for professionalism. She was not the kind of officer who made social visits at night. "Come in," he said calmly, unlocking the door. Inside, Atlas padded ahead, body relaxed but ready. Dalton hesitated before shutting the door behind her, then exhaled as if she had been holding her breath for hours. "I'm sorry to show up unannounced," she said, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "But I saw what happened earlier today with General Red, and what happened during your check-in yesterday. He singled you out." Logan offered a neutral nod. "He has strong opinions about service animals." Dalton's jaw tightened. "He has strong opinions about anyone he thinks he can control. And he doesn't like new variables on his base, especially not ones he didn't request." Logan watched her carefully. "Captain, if you have something to say, I'm listening." She swallowed once, then spoke with the kind of steady conviction that comes from long-contained frustration. "This base. Something's wrong here. Supplies vanish. Paperwork doesn't match shipment logs. Personnel get reassigned out of nowhere. Questions disappear before they reach the right channels. And General Red," she hesitated, lowering her voice even further, "he ensures no one digs too deep. He makes sure the officers closest to him stay loyal, and the ones who aren't, well, they get pushed aside." Logan didn't break eye contact. "Why tell me this?" Dalton's expression shifted fear, mixed with resolve. "Because you're not afraid of him, and he knows that." And she nodded toward Atlas. "Any man who trusts a partner that loyal eye and seeing. T here to cause trouble for the wrong reasons." Atlas sensed her sincerity and gave a slow blink, his version of acceptance. Logan let the silence settle before asking, "What do you know about Colonel Knox?" Dalton froze. The reaction told Logan everything. "I knew it," she whispered. "I knew he was involved." She moved closer, lowering her voice to a whisper. "Colonel Knox is constantly signing off on late-night shipments and off-record requests. He's reorganized entire storage wings without approval. And Red shields him from oversight. I've tried filing concerns twice. Both reports vanished within a day." Logan filed that away. Task Force Meridian would find those missing reports easily. "Captain," he said, "you're taking a risk by coming here." "Why now?" Dalton took a steadying breath. "Because Knox is meeting someone tomorrow night. Someone from outside the base. I overheard 2 civilians talking behind the motor pool during inventory checks. They mentioned a transfer. Something about the general keeping the funnel open." Logan's pulse ticked upward, not from fear, but from the precision falling into place. "Time and location?" "Warehouse 12B, after 2200. She pulled a slip of folded paper from her pocket. "Coordinates." "I couldn't get more without being noticed." Logan unfolded the paper. Dalton had marked the exact loading zone behind the warehouse. "Thank you," he said. "You did the right thing." Dalton nodded, but anxiety still pinched the corners of her eyes. "Be careful, Senior Chief. General Red isn't just cruel, he's calculating. If he senses something is off, he will make you regret setting foot here." Logan glanced down at Atlas, who sat poised and steady beside him. "I'm not alone," he said quietly. Dalton gave Atlas a respectful look before stepping toward the door. "If you need anything," she whispered. "If you need backup, I'll reach out," Logan said. She nodded once, slipped outside, and vanished into the quiet night. Logan waited a long moment, listening to her footsteps fade. Then he looked at Atlas. "Tomorrow night," he murmured. "We end this." Atlas's ears lifted, eyes bright with readiness. The calm before the storm settled around them, but Logan felt no fear, only focus. The countdown had begun, and General Red had no idea his empire was already crumbling beneath him. The next day unfolded with a deceptive calm across Fort Ridgewater, the sun rising over the tall pines and washing the base in warm, harmless gold. But Logan Hart, the 34-year-old sandy brown-haired Navy SEAL, sensed the tension under the surface in the same way Atlas, the alert GermanShepherd K9, sensed subtle shifts in the air around him. All morning, soldiers moved about with their usual routines: PT runs, equipment checks, clipped conversations outside offices, but whispers trailed behind Logan wherever he walked. Whispers about the general's public mocking at check-in, about the new SEAL with the mysterious reassignment, about the dog who seemed far too disciplined to be a simple emotional support animal. Logan didn't mind the attention. In fact, attention made General Marcus Red, the 58-year-old steel-haired base commander, even more predictable. The general thrived on control, on intimidation, on reminding people that he ran every inch of the installation. And today, Logan fully expected him to escalate. That escalation arrived just before noon. Logan was walking Atlas near the motor pool, deliberately projecting calm, when a black government SUV rolled up sharply beside him. The door swung open, and General Red stepped out with the stiff posture of a man who believed the earth itself straightened under his boots. Behind him stood Lieutenant Grant Wilder, the 30-year-old red-haired aide with a neatly pressed uniform and a nervous energy that made his shoulders tense. "Hart," Red barked, loud enough for several passing soldiers to hear. "You and the pet front and center." Logan approached with composed steps, Atlas walking in flawless sync. "Yes, sir," Logan said, meeting the general's gaze with polite neutrality. Red circled Atlas slowly, like a man inspecting a piece of faulty equipment. "Still allowing this animal to roam the base?" he asked loudly, making sure his voice carried. "I thought I made it clear this installation values discipline, not accessories." Wilder snickered quietly, trying to mimic his superior's confidence. Logan kept his voice measured. "Atlas is within regulations, sir," Red scoffed, leaning in. "Regulations can be revised, standards can be raised, and weak links can be removed." He stepped back, straightened his jacket, and turned to Wilder. "Take a picture of that dog," he said. "We'll pass it on to base safety. If this animal fails even one behavioral review, I want him gone." Wilder lifted his phone hesitantly, and Logan could see the uncertainty in the lieutenant's eyes. Wilder knew Red was pushing boundaries, but he also knew the cost of defiance. Atlas remained perfectly still, head high, posture confident. His calm only made Red's glare sharpen. "You think this impresses me, Hart?" Red snapped. "A dog that sits still? That's not discipline. That's just tricks for treats." Logan didn't flinch. "Atlas doesn't need treats, sir. He knows the job." Red stepped closer until he stood inches from Logan, his voice dropping to a low growl. "I don't trust you, and I don't trust that dog. You're here on reassignment because someone somewhere decided you needed babysitting. Don't forget that." Then, with a final glare, he turned and climbed into his SUV. "Review him," Red ordered Wilder. "I want that animal off my base." The vehicle sped off, tires crunching over gravel. Wilder lingered for a moment, his expression tight. "Hart," he muttered quietly, "be careful." The general's in one of his moods. Logan gave a slow nod. "Thank you, Lieutenant." Wilder hurried away, leaving Logan and Atlas alone beneath the bright midday sun. Logan crouched and rested a hand on Atlas's neck. "We stay sharp," he murmured. Atlas responded with a gentle exhale, eyes alert but steady. The dog understood the mood of the base as clearly as any human. Something was shifting, and the pressure was rising. By late afternoon, Logan received a sudden summons. A leadership meeting in the central briefing hall. Not optional, mandatory. Exactly the kind of gathering Red used to posture and intimidate. Logan arrived early, bringing Atlas, despite knowing the general would resent it. The long, echoing hall smelled faintly of coffee and old carpet. Officers filtered in some whispering, some avoiding eye contact. Captain Nyra Dalton, the 39-year-old brunette operations officer who had approached him the night before, slipped into a seat near the edge and gave Logan the smallest nod of acknowledgement. At precisely 1700 hours, the doors opened, and General Red strode in with Colonel Avery Knox, the 46-year-old black-haired logistics officer, trailing just behind him. Knox looked composed, too composed, his expression stiff, guarded. The kind of expression a man wore when he was hiding the weight of a secret. Red stood at the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, voice booming, "we have standards on this installation. Standards that are slipping." Several officers exchanged uneasy glances. "I will not tolerate weak leadership, weak oversight, or weak personnel. I expect excellence, and I expect loyalty." His gaze swept the room before landing on Logan with pointed disdain. "Some individuals," he continued, "seem confused about their place here. They believe they can hide behind reassignments or animals." A soft ripple moved through the room. Dalton stiffened. Logan remained still. Red continued, "Therefore, effective immediately, we will conduct a full readiness review of all non-essential personnel assets, including service animals." The implied target was unmistakable. "Any failure," Red said, "any instability, and those assets will be removed, permanently." Knox leaned toward Red and whispered something. Red smirked. "Ah, yes. Colonel Knox reminds me some individuals have been seen near restricted storage areas. Let me be perfectly clear. I will personally handle any violation of this nature." Dalton's eyes flicked toward Logan in alarm. She knew Red wasn't making threats. He was signaling his intent. The meeting broke shortly after. Officers dispersed quickly, tension following them like a shadow. Logan remained seated for a moment, letting the room empty. Dalton approached him quietly. "He knows something," she whispered. "Knox probably told him." Logan nodded. "They're nervous." "That means we're close." Dalton exhaled shakily. "Tonight changes everything." Logan rose, Atlas falling into place beside him with perfect posture. "Yes," he said softly. "Tonight we finish it." As they stepped out into the cooling evening air, Logan felt Atlas press slightly against his leg, not out of fear, but as a reminder, Whatever storm awaited them, they faced it together. And Fort Ridgewater had no idea that its most powerful man was only hours away from losing everything. Night settled over Fort Ridgewater with a cool, quiet stillness, the kind that masked movement and made every shadow feel deeper. And Logan Hart, the 34-year-old sandy brown-haired Navy SEAL, stood beside his duplex window, watching the last of the evening traffic fade until the base grew calm. Atlas, the disciplined German Shepherd K9, waited by the door as if he already knew the mission clock had begun to tick. Logan clipped a compact tracking beacon to Atlas's harness and whispered, "Stay close, buddy." Atlas gave the soft, confident breath that meant he was ready. Logan stepped into the night, the door closing behind him without a sound, and the two made their way along the outer path that curved behind the residential row. Their destination was Warehouse 12B, the exact place Captain Mira Dalton, the 39-year-old brunette operations officer, had warned him about. Tonight, Colonel Avery Knox, the 46-year-old black-haired logistics officer, would be making a covert meeting with outside contacts. And if Logan's instincts were right, General Marcus Red, the 58-year-old steel-haired commander, wouldn't be far behind. Logan kept to the tree line until the glow of the warehouse lights flickered through the branches. 12B stood at the edge of the supply complex, tucked in a cluster of identical buildings that made it ideal for off-record shipments. A single truck idled near the loading dock, no markings, no plates visible from a distance. Atlas lowered his body instinctively, every muscle quiet and alert. Logan scanned the perimeter. "Movement, 10 o'clock, he whispered. Atlas looked, eyes locking onto two figures standing by the ramp. Logan activated a compact thermal lens. The silhouettes sharpened. Knox and an unfamiliar man in civilian clothes, mid to late 40s, carrying himself like someone who wasn't intimidated by military rank. "There he is," Logan murmured. The outside buyer, Knox paced with barely contained urgency, hands slicing through the air as he spoke. Even from a distance, Logan could read the tension in Knox's movements. The man wasn't just participating. He was desperate. That desperation was leverage Logan planned to use. The civilian's slightly overweight, salt and pepper hair, dressed in a business-gray jacket, responded with calm, controlled gestures. Someone experienced in illicit exchanges. Someone who knew how to make problems disappear. Logan whispered into his earpiece. "Meridian, confirmed visual on external contact." A quiet voice answered. "Copy, Hart. Camera feed established. Proceed." Logan signaled Atlas forward, and they crept closer, using the backlot's parked vehicles as cover. The night air carried bits of the conversation when the wind shifted. "Shipment is late," the civilian muttered. "My people aren't pleased," Knox snapped back. "I told you we'd have everything ready." Red delayed the paperwork to avoid suspicion. The civilian scoffed. "Your general's control issues are becoming a liability." Logan felt the final puzzle pieces slide into place. This wasn't just about stolen equipment. This was a full-scale pipeline military hardware moved off the books, sold to private interests, and protected by the base commander's authority. Logan needed the final confirmation. He needed Red himself to show, and he didn't wait long. Headlights cut through the darkness. A second truck rolled in, this one familiar. Logan recognized the blue stripe on the side. It belonged to the general's personal transport. "Showtime," Logan whispered. Atlas pressed against his leg, steady and silent. General Marcus Red emerged from the vehicle with the strut of a man stepping into his kingdom. He approached Knox and the civilian, his posture rigid, his chin lifted high. Logan moved closer, staying just inside the shadows behind a stack of unused pallets. Red's voice carried cleanly through the still air. "If this transfer goes smoothly," the general said, "we continue as planned. But if there is any mistake," he shot Knox a sharp glare, "this entire operation falls apart. And I will not take the fall for you." Knox stiffened. The civilian nodded approvingly. "Your discretion has been appreciated, General," the man said. "Your base provides the most reliable funnel we've ever had." Red smirked, pride glinting in his eyes. "Because I maintain order, and because I remove distractions before they become threats." He paused and then laughed under his breath. "Like that SEAL, Hart," Knox tensed. Red continued, "He thinks that mutt of his gives him authority. I'll take the animal from him if I have to. It'll break him." Atlas gave the faintest shift in posture, no aggression, just awareness, but Logan gently touched his back, signaling calm. Red kept talking. "Once Hart is discredited, we'll finish cleaning up the schedules and move the rest of the equipment. Tonight is the last major exchange." Logan had every word recorded through his concealed mic, and now he needed Red to incriminate himself fully. He stepped forward, remaining cloaked in shadow, and quietly tossed a pebble across the lot. It clattered near the truck's front tire. The civilian turned sharply. "Did you hear that?" Red lifted a hand, signaling silence. His eyes narrowed. "Knox, check it out." Knox moved forward reluctantly, heading straight toward Logan's hiding spot. But Logan was already moving, slipping behind a stack of drums, Atlas at his side with perfect stealth. Knox passed within 10 feet of them, muttering irritably. Red's paranoia again. Logan waited until Knox returned to the others and reported, "Nothing." Red exhaled, easing slightly, then spoke the words Logan needed. "Good. Finish loading the hardware. Once it's gone, we'll scrub the records and retire with a fortune. No loose ends." Logan had him. Every admission captured. Every detail logged. He whispered into his mic, "Meridian, this is Hart. Red has confirmed involvement in illegal transfer of restricted hardware, advising immediate mobilization." "Copy that," the voice replied. "Agents are inbound." "Stand by." Logan crouched low, hand resting on Atlas's harness. "Ready, buddy?" Atlas gave a quiet breath, eyes fixed ahead. Moments later, unmarked vehicles swept silently toward the Lawton-CI's teams, moving like shadows, closing every exit with seamless coordination. Red, Knox, and the civilian froze as dark-clad agents emerged from all sides. Logan stepped out of the darkness, Atlas pacing firmly beside him, and spoke clearly into the cold night air. "General Red," Logan said, voice steady and commanding, "your operation is over." The general's face drained of all arrogance, all confidence, leaving only stunned disbelief as federal agents closed in. And Fort Ridgewater, so tightly controlled under Red's rules, shifted forever in the span of a quiet American night. The moment federal agents surged onto the lot, the entire rhythm of the night shifted, clean, controlled, and decisive. Logan Hart, the 34-year-old sandy brown-haired Navy SEAL, stepped fully into the open as Atlas. The focused GermanShepherd K9 moved at his side with a quiet authority that drew the eyes of every agent arriving on scene. The unmarked vehicles formed a precise perimeter around Warehouse 12B, tires crunching softly over the gravel as teams flowed out with synchronized efficiency. Red and blue emergency lights remained intentionally off. This was a silent takedown. At the center of the chaos stood General Marcus Red, the 58-year-old steel-haired commander whose confidence had collapsed the instant he realized the net tightening around him wasn't a hypothetical, it was already closing. Colonel Avery Knox, the 46-year-old black-haired logistics officer, raised his hands instinctively, his stiff posture cracking under the pressure. The civilian buyer, the salt-and-pepper-haired man in the business-gray jacket, took a single step backward before 3 agents converged on him with swift, practiced precision. Red tried to speak, tried to summon the commanding tone he had used to intimidate hundreds on this base, but what came out instead was a strained, disbelieving rasp. "Hart, this is entrapment." He sputtered. Logan didn't respond immediately. He simply held Red's stare, calm and unwavering. No, General, Logan said evenly. This is accountability. Atlas remained perfectly still, amber eyes locked on the general with quiet alertness. Nearby, Agent Carolyn Ruiz, the 41-year-old black-haired NCIS field supervisor with a sharp, focused presence, approached with her badge held high. General Marcus Red, she announced, her voice steady and professional. You are being taken into custody for violations of federal code concerning the unauthorized distribution of restricted military equipment, conspiracy to defraud the United States, and obstruction of justice. Red's jaw tensed. You have no idea what you're doing, he snapped. This base runs because of me. Without me, this entire operation falls apart. Agent Ruiz didn't blink. And yet here we are. She gestured to two agents who stepped forward and took hold of the general's arms, not violently, but firmly. Red tried to pull away on instinct, but their grip didn't waver. The humiliation written across Red's face was unmistakable, and for the first time, the man who had spent years mocking others felt the weight of true consequence. Knox, meanwhile, began talking rapidly, so fast it bordered on frantic. Listen, I can cooperate, he blurted out. I can tell you everything. I have files, names, I can help. Logan watched him with a cool neutrality. Knox wasn't apologizing out of remorse. He was bargaining for survival. But his cooperation would still be useful. Agent Ruiz turned to him. Colonel Knox, you'll have the chance to speak soon. Hands where we can see them. Knox complied, though tension radiated off him like heat. Agents secured him next, guiding him toward a waiting vehicle as he continued muttering about being just following orders. Logan shifted his attention back to Red, just as the general's voice rose once more, louder and sharper this time. You think you've won, Hart? He shouted. You're just a SEAL on reassignment. You're nothing without. Logan stepped forward, not close, not aggressively, but with quiet purpose. The general froze mid-sentence. You mocked me, Logan said softly. You mocked my partner. You mocked service members who came here trusting you to lead with integrity. He paused, letting the weight of the moment settle. But this was never about me, General. This was about the people you used. The people you manipulated. The people you thought would stay scared. Atlas stood tall beside him, still as stone. Red's gaze flicked briefly to the dog, and for the first time, there was no cruelty, just dread. By now, the last of the civilian workers had been secured, and the lot had become a field of organized containment. Evidence teams moved quickly, photographing the crates and equipment, logging serial numbers, and documenting each piece. The warehouse lights glowed steadily overhead, revealing rows of sealed containers, far more than Logan expected. Far more than one night's shipment. Agent Ruiz approached Logan with a tablet. Your recordings confirmed everything, she said. We've been building a case for months, but we needed Red's direct involvement. You delivered it. Logan nodded. Appreciate it, ma'am. My partner did most of the work. Atlas gave a soft breath at the acknowledgement, and Ruiz allowed a rare, small smile. He's remarkable, she admitted. Your report said he was a K-9 asset, but seeing him in the field. She shook her head. We may need him to help with additional sweeps tonight. He's ready, Logan said. Just then, Captain Mira Dalton, the 39-year-old brunette operations officer, hurried onto the scene, her expression a mix of relief and disbelief. Senior Chief, she said quietly, stopping beside Logan. It's over? Logan turned to her. Yes, he won't be hurting anyone else. Dalton's shoulders loosened. A subtle release of tension built over years under Red's oppressive command. She glanced toward the agents escorting the general into the SUV. He ran this place like a fortress, she whispered. I didn't think anyone could touch him. Logan looked at Atlas. No one is untouchable. As the convoy prepared to depart with the arrested personnel, Agent Ruiz addressed the assembled agents. Transport in motion. Secure all evidence for immediate transfer. We'll coordinate with command to initiate a full audit of Fort Ridgewater's logistics and financial systems. With the suspects loaded and the vehicles rolling away, a strange silence settled across the supply lot, the tense quiet from earlier, but a lighter one, an air of release, of change. Dalton stepped closer to Logan and said, "This space is going to feel different tomorrow." Logan nodded. "It will. But tonight, we finish what we started." He looked down at Atlas. "Let's sweep the warehouse." Atlas gave a small, ready breath, a signal he was prepared for whatever came next. And together, the two partners moved into the warehouse. Open doors, stepping into the rows of crates that marked the last remnants of General Red's empire. An empire that had just fallen in the span of a single pivotal night. The early hours of the morning settled over Fort Ridgewater like a soft muted haze, the kind that signaled a base caught between exhaustion and renewal, and Logan Hart, the 34-year-old sandy brown-haired Navy SEAL, felt the shift as if the ground beneath the installation had exhaled for the first time in years. Atlas, the vigilant German Shepherd K9, padded beside him with steady confidence as they walked out of Warehouse 12B after completing the preliminary sweep with the NCIS team. Inside, agents continued cataloging every crate, every document, every illegal component that General Marcus Red and Colonel Avery Knox had helped move off the books. The operation had been far larger than expected, and Logan knew the fallout would ripple through multiple chains of command. But for the first time since arriving on base, he felt the silence around him wasn't heavy with pressure. It was calm, almost peaceful. As Logan and Atlas stepped into the faint glow of dawn creeping over the treetops, Agent Caroline Ruiz, the 41-year-old black-haired NCIS field supervisor, approached from across the lot, tablet in hand. "We're running inventory matches now," she said, offering a tight but hopeful smile. "Your recordings simplified half our work. The DOJ is already preparing warrants for the external buyers." Logan nodded. "Good. They need to be held accountable too." Ruiz glanced at Atlas, her expression softening. "And your partner? If we had even 10 dogs that steady, these investigations would go twice as fast." Atlas sat tall, amber eyes bright, as if he understood the compliment. Ruiz continued, "I'm assigning 2 of my best evidence teams to stay here through sunrise." "You're clear to stand down for now." "Appreciate it," Logan said. "But I'm not leaving the base just yet." Ruiz smirked faintly. "Didn't think you would." She tapped her tablet and walked back toward her team, barking orders with renewed energy. Logan headed toward the main path that curved toward the residential loop. The base was quiet, more than usual, as if the news hadn't fully reached the morning routines yet. But that silence wouldn't last. Once word spread about the general's arrest, Fort Ridgewater would be shaken to its core. The mocking, the intimidation, the arrogance of a man who thought he was untouchable. All of it had finally collapsed. As Logan reached his duplex, he noticed someone sitting on the bench near his door. Captain Mira Dalton, the 39-year-old brunette operations officer, looked up with tired but relieved eyes. "I couldn't sleep," she said quietly. "Figured you'd be wrapping up soon." Logan stopped beside her. "It's done. Red and Knox are in custody. The CIS is securing the rest." Dalton nodded slowly. "I never thought I'd see this day. He's been controlling everything for so long." She paused, gathering her composure. "You have no idea what you just fixed." Logan remained standing, Atlas sitting calmly at his heel. "You helped make it happen. Without your intel, we wouldn't have caught them in the act." Dalton's gaze softened. "I just did what was right." "But you," her voice lowered. "You walked in with everyone watching, knowing he had targeted you from day one." "This place needed a reset," he said. "Now it has one." Dalton exhaled deeply, her shoulders releasing tension that had likely been building for years. "There's something else," she said. "You'll want to know this before the rest of the base wakes up." Logan turned his full attention toward her. "Go ahead, Wilder," she said, referring to Lieutenant Grant Wilder, the 30-year-old red-haired aide. "Came to my office about 30 minutes ago. He's been under pressure from Red for months, forced to sign off on requests, threatened with reassignment if he didn't comply." Logan nodded. "I suspected he wasn't participating willingly." "He wasn't," Dalton confirmed. "And he's already meeting with NCIS to give a full statement. He's going to help clean up the administrative mess Red left behind." Logan appreciated that more than he let show. Wilder had been nervous, timid even, but clearly not corrupt. "Good," he said. "He deserves a chance to rebuild his career without Red looking over his shoulder." Dalton hesitated before speaking again. "There's something else. Something I think you'll want to hear." Logan waited. "Some of the junior officers are already talking," she said softly. "They're saying the moment NCIS rolled in, the general looked right at you. They're saying he knew the instant everything fell apart, that you were the one who ended it." Logan looked down at Atlas. "I didn't do it alone." Dalton smiled gently. "Most people won't see it that way. All they'll all see is that the man who strutted around this base, mocking others, who tried to crush anyone he viewed as beneath him, lost everything minutes after challenging the wrong SEAL." Logan remained silent for a moment, feeling a quiet, grounded sense of completion. Not victory justice. "I need to check in with NCIS again before sunrise," he said. Dalton rose from the bench. "I'll walk with you." As they began down the path, Atlas trotting confidently beside them, the horizon brightened with soft streaks of pink and gold. The air smelled fresh, crisp, clean like the first breath of a new chapter. They turned a corner near the parade field, and Logan noticed the first cluster of early rising soldiers gathering for morning formation. Conversations halted as they saw him walk by. Then, unexpectedly, one of the sergeants straightened his posture, nodded respectfully, and said, "Morning, Senior Chief." Another echoed it. Then another. Dalton glanced at Logan with a knowing look. "Told you," she murmured. Logan offered each soldier a composed nod and kept walking. Atlas's steps matched perfectly beside him, steady, confident, purposeful. The base was waking up, and everything had changed. As they neared the operations building, the sun finally crested the horizon, casting brilliant golden light across Fort Ridgewater. Logan paused for a brief moment, letting the warmth hit his face. "It's a new day," Dalton said quietly. Logan rested a hand on Atlas's neck. "Yes," he murmured. "And we're not done yet." The morning sun rose higher over Fort Ridgewater, brightening the base with a calm the installation hadn't felt in years. And Logan Hart, the 34-year-old, sandy brown-haired Navy SEAL, felt the shift as he walked back toward the operations wing with Atlas, the loyal GermanShepherd K9, pacing steadily at his side. The path was lined with tall pines swaying in a mild breeze, and soldiers in training uniforms moved briskly between buildings, some glancing at Logan with expressions that blended respect, curiosity, and a dawning understanding of everything that had happened the night before. Word was spreading quickly. General Marcus Red had been taken into custody. Colonel Avery Knox was being interrogated. A scandal involving missing supplies and illegal shipments was unraveling in real time. And at the center of it all was the quiet SEAL and his unwavering K9 partner. As Logan neared the operations building, he spotted Lieutenant Grant Wilder, the 30-year-old red-haired administrative aide, waiting by the entrance with a stack of folders tucked carefully under one arm. Wilder looked more composed than Logan had ever seen him, nervous still, but relieved, like a man finally freed from a tightening vice. "Senior Chief," Wilder said, giving a respectful nod. "NCIS asked me to pass this to you." Logan took the folder. "What's inside?" "Documentation from Red's office," Wilder explained. "It's everything he forced me to sign. I figured Well, it's time for the truth to be out in the open. Logan opened the folder briefly, scanning through pages of requisitions, authorizations, shipping logs, all meticulously forged or manipulated by Red and Knox. Wilder swallowed hard. I never wanted to be part of any of it. He made it clear my career depended on doing what he said. Logan closed the folder and met his gaze. You did the right thing today. Wilder exhaled with visible relief. I'm meeting with NCIS again in an hour. They want a full statement. I'm ready to give it. Good, Logan said. We're not out of the woods yet. But this helps. Wilder nodded quickly. Thank you, Senior Chief, for everything. As Wilder hurried inside, Logan continued walking toward the main courtyard. He had barely crossed the open space when Captain Mira Dalton, the 39-year-old brunette operations officer, called out from behind him. Logan, over here. He turned and saw her standing near a cluster of benches, waving him over. She looked more energized than she had in days, almost hopeful. Atlas followed Logan as he made his way to her. You're up early, she said with a faint smile. Couldn't sleep, Logan replied. Figured I'd check on the teams and see how the base was adjusting. Adjusting is one word for it, Dalton said, folding her arms gently. Red ruled by intimidation, so long that half the base still can't process that he is gone. Logan nodded. It'll take time. Maybe, Dalton said, but something happened this morning that you should know. Logan raised an eyebrow. Go on. The junior enlisted in the supply wing asked command for a meeting, she said. They want to testify about how Knox pressured them into signing off on shipments they never saw. Logan exchanged a look with Atlas, who sat attentively at his side. People are finally speaking up, because they saw you stand up to him, Dalton said plainly, and because they watched Atlas stand his ground without hesitation. That moment, it broke something in Red's control over this place. Logan didn't respond immediately. Instead, he gazed across the courtyard, where small groups of soldiers had gathered, whispering and glancing in his direction. Dalton followed his line of sight. They're not just curious, she said softly. They're grateful. Logan shifted slightly. Gratitude isn't what I'm after, Dalton smiled. Maybe not. But after what this base has lived under, they're going to see you as the man who ended it. Before Logan could answer, Agent Carolyn Ruiz, a 41-year-old black-haired NCIS field supervisor, strode across the courtyard with purposeful steps. Hart, she called out, stopping beside them. We've wrapped the secondary sweep of Warehouse 1-2B. You were right. There were hidden compartments in the flooring. We found additional shipment manifests Red stored separately. Logan nodded. Good. That'll help tie the external buyers directly to his operation. Ruiz glanced down at Atlas, who looked up at her expectantly. Your partner continues to surprise my team, she said. One of my agents dropped a flashlight, and Atlas repositioned himself between her and the stack of crates without being told. Pure instinct. That's his job, Logan replied. He reads the room better than most people, Ruiz smirked. He's making a fan club, Dalton laughed quietly. Everyone on this base is becoming a fan. Atlas, hearing their tone, wagged his tail just once, as if accepting the praise with dignified restraint. Ruiz crossed her arms. We need to brief you on something. The DOJ just informed us that 2 of the civilian contractors connected to Red's network are attempting to flee the state. They might try to scrub evidence electronically. We've already issued warrants, but your recordings will be critical to proving coordination. Logan nodded. Just tell me where you need me. We'll meet in conference room C, Ruiz said. 10 minutes. She glanced at Dalton. You're welcome to join, Captain. I'll be there, Dalton replied. As Ruiz walked off, Dalton turned back to Logan. You realize we're nearing the end of this investigation, right? Logan nodded slowly. Yes, but not the end of what comes next. Meaning? A base doesn't recover from something like this overnight, Logan said. There's still trust to rebuild. Structure. Morale. Dalton tilted her head. And you think that's your responsibility? Logan looked down at Atlas, whose steady presence had become the grounding point of everything. I think it's ours, he said quietly. Dalton nodded in understanding. Well, she said, let's finish what we started. Logan and Dalton walked toward the operations building, Atlas matching their pace with focused, disciplined steps. As they entered the hallway, the ambient noise of the base began to rise in the distance, morning drills forming, conversations igniting, a new energy sweeping through Fort Ridgewater, like the first real breath of renewal. And as Logan reached for the conference room door, he knew one thing with complete certainty: justice had begun last night, but restoration would take every ounce of strength he still had. And he was ready. Fort Ridgewater hummed with a new, cautious rhythm by the time Logan Hart, the 34-year-old sandy brown-haired Navy SEAL, stepped out of Conference Room C alongside Captain Mira Dalton, the 39-year-old brunette operations officer, and Atlas, the steadfast German Shepherd K9. The DOJ call had been intense, revealing the widening scope of General Marcus Red's corruption. But it was also the first meeting that felt like the turning point, where justice was no longer unfolding in whispers, but in confirmed, coordinated action. The base had shifted. People were speaking up. The lies were unraveling. And the truth was stepping out into the sunlight. As the trio moved down the hallway, Agent Caroline Ruiz, the 41-year-old black-haired NCIS field supervisor, caught up to them. We've got movement, she said, holding up her tablet. The two contractors trying to flee the state just left a storage site 15 miles outside the base. Highway patrol is on them, but they're asking for military confirmation of the evidence in those crates. Logan nodded. I'll confirm anything they need. Ruiz shook her head lightly. Actually, you won't need to go anywhere. The checkpoint officers have body cams, and we're piping the feed directly back here. She tapped her tablet, bringing up a live stream of officers inspecting a large cargo van. Two men stood restrained nearby, their expressions tense. The officers slid the van doors open, revealing rows of carefully sealed wooden crates, the same type seized at Fort Ridgewater. We'll analyze the footage, Ruiz said. But we already know what we'll find. Logan gave a single measured nod. Another link in the chain. As Ruiz walked off to coordinate her team, Dalton stopped near a side hallway, turning to Logan with a thoughtful expression. Can I show you something? She asked. Logan glanced at Atlas, who watched Dalton calmly, then nodded. Lead the way. Dalton walked him toward a corridor lined with framed photograph series of training groups, commendations and historic milestones of Fort Ridgewater. She stopped near a photo from 7 years earlier, one Logan hadn't noticed before. The image showed a team of soldiers standing proudly beside a new K9 facility. In the center was a younger-looking Marcus Red, shaking hands with handlers, his smile broad and polished. This was the last time Fort Ridgewater got a major upgrade, Dalton said, before everything started slipping. Logan studied the photo. You trained here back then? I did, she said quietly. And back then, Red was strict but fair. Somewhere along the way, he shifted. He became obsessed with control, obsessive about appearances. It stopped being about the base, and it became about him. She glanced toward Atlas. That's why yesterday hit so hard. Watching him mock you and seeing Atlas react with such calm strength, it reminded everyone of what leadership should look like. Logan leaned back slightly, absorbing her words. People stopped trusting him long before I got here. Maybe, Dalton replied, but no one could do anything. He held every lever of authority. You were the first person who didn't flinch. Logan's gaze remained steady on the photograph. Flinching wasn't an option. Dalton smiled faintly. It never is for people like you. Before Logan could respond, Officer Harold Pike, the 32-year-old blonde military police sergeant, jogged down the hall toward them. "Senior Chief Hart," he called out, slightly breathless. "Captain Dalton, we've got something." Logan straightened. "What is it?" Pike slowed as he arrived, glancing at Atlas, who watched him with alert but calm focus. "NC, ICE found a hidden ledger in Red's office. Looks like a complete record of transactions, every payout, every shipment, every offshore transfer." "A ledger?" Dalton repeated. "On paper?" Pike nodded firmly. "Handwritten. Looked decades old. He must have kept it as his private insurance, something nobody could hack or tamper with." Logan exchanged a look with Dalton. "Where is it now?" Pike gestured behind him. "Evidence room B," Logan nodded. "We'll go now." As Pike led the way, Logan and Dalton followed, with Atlas moving in a smooth, disciplined trot beside them. When they reached the evidence room, Agent Ruiz was already there, standing beside a long table where a thick leather-bound ledger lay open. "This," Ruiz said, tapping a page with her pen, "is the smoking gun?" Logan approached, reading the dense columns of handwritten entries, dates, companies, coded references, initials. At the bottom of one page, in unmistakable neat lettering, he saw it, M. Red, and across from it, A. Knox. Ruiz continued. "This ledger goes back years. Not just this operation, others too. Unauthorized allocations, misused funds, private contracts. The whole thing is a roadmap of everything Red tried to bury." Dalton exhaled slowly. "This is enough to bury him for life." "More than enough," Ruiz confirmed. "And with the contractors caught, we have cooperative witnesses now." She tapped another entry. "But there's something else you need to see." Logan leaned in. Ruiz turned the page, revealing a list of initials under a section labeled Internal Compliance Threats. Logan's eyes scanned the list until they landed on one entry, H. Hart. Dalton's eyes widened. "He documented you?" Ruiz nodded grimly. "You showed up on his radar the moment you checked in. He marked you as a threat before you even stepped into the O Club. And Atlas," she flipped another page, "is listed as operational risk remove if necessary." Atlas, sitting beside Logan's leg, stayed perfectly composed, but Logan's jaw tightened just slightly. Dalton whispered, "He targeted you both from day one." Logan closed the ledger gently, his hand steady. "Doesn't matter now. He won't be targeting anyone again." Ruiz nodded. "Agreed. But this proves intent. And the DOJ will use it to ensure he never sees another position of authority." Pike stepped forward. "Sir, there's another issue. The soldiers in the maintenance wing want to speak to you," they said. "Well, they said you're the only one they trust." Logan blinked once, thoughtful. Dalton smiled softly. "Told you this base is changing." Logan placed a hand on Atlas's back. "Let's talk to them." As they walked out together, Logan, Dalton, Atlas, Pike, and Ruiz splitting off toward her team, the base outside hummed with the buzz of transformation. Soldiers straightened as Logan passed. Officers paused their conversations. A sense of rebuilding pulsed through Fort Ridgewater. And as Logan headed toward the maintenance wing, Atlas's steady steps beside him, he knew the truth. The worst was already behind them. Now came the part that mattered even more, helping an entire base learn how to stand again. The late afternoon sun settled over Fort Ridgewater in soft golden layers, the kind that warmed the concrete paths and softened the long lines of barracks that stretched across the horizon. Logan Hart, the 34-year-old sandy brown-haired Navy SEAL, walked slowly across the sprawling maintenance yard beside Atlas, the steadfast German Shepherd canine, while Captain Mira Dalton, the 39-year-old brunette operations officer, matched their pace. The three of them had just finished a quiet but meaningful meeting with a group of maintenance personnel, men and women, who had finally felt safe enough to speak openly about being pressured, threatened, and controlled under General Marcus Red's command. They spoke with relief. They spoke with gratitude. They spoke of a new beginning that didn't feel forced, it felt earned. As the trio stepped out into the open, the warm light bathed the base in a gentle glow. Logan paused, observing the way shadows stretched across the courtyard and how different the atmosphere felt now. No tension, no tight shoulders, no eyes darting over shoulders in fear of who might be watching. "It feels lighter," Dalton said softly, looking around. "Like the air finally cleared," Logan nodded. "This is what a base is supposed to feel like." Just then, Officer Harold Pike, the 32-year-old blonde military police sergeant, jogged toward them again, but this time with a relaxed posture, not urgency. "Senior Chief," Pike said, stopping with an earnest smile, "I wanted to let you know. The entire maintenance division is preparing a written statement for NCIS. Completely voluntary. They wanted me to tell you they're doing it because they trust you." "And Atlas." Atlas lifted his head slightly at the sound of his name, posture steady and proud. "Glad to hear it," Logan said. "They deserve to be heard." Pike nodded, taking a quick breath. "Also, NCIS requested your presence at the parade field. They said it's important." Logan raised an eyebrow. "Did they say why?" "Not exactly," Pike admitted. "Just that it's something the whole base needs to see." Logan exchanged a look with Dalton, who gestured toward the field. "Let's find out." The three made their way across the base, Atlas trotting with calm confidence at Logan's heel. As they approached the wide expanse of the parade field, Logan noticed a crowd gathering, hundreds of soldiers arranged loosely in formation, officers spaced evenly among them. At the front stood Agent Caroline Ruiz, the 41-year-old black-haired NCIS field supervisor, alongside Captain Elias Grant, the 46-year-old brown-haired interim base commander, who had arrived earlier that morning to steady Fort Ridgewater through the transition. The moment Logan stepped into view, conversations paused, heads turned. A ripple passed through the gathered ranks. Not out of fear, out of respect. Captain Grant stepped forward with a composed yet warm demeanor. "Senior Chief Hart," Grant began, his voice carrying easily over the quiet field. "Thank you for joining us." Logan stopped a few feet away. Atlas sat crisply at his side, amber eyes fixed on Grant. Ruiz stepped forward next. "This gathering isn't disciplinary, operational, or ceremonial," she said. "It's something far simpler, and something this base hasn't had enough of." She turned to look at the assembled personnel. "It's acknowledgement." Logan remained silent, but Dalton stood straighter at his side. Grant clasped his hands behind him. "Fort Ridgewater has endured years of silence, intimidation, and secrecy," he said. "But in the past 24 hours, every truth that should have been spoken earlier finally came to light." He glanced toward Logan. "Because one man, one operator would not allow this base to remain in the dark." A soft wave of murmurs moved through the crowd, then faded. Grant continued. "General Marcus Red mocked him, tried to discredit him, tried to take his partner away. And minutes later, his entire house of cards fell. Not because of vengeance, but because integrity always wins in the end." Logan felt Atlas shift slightly beside him, sensing the base's focus. Ruiz stepped closer and addressed the crowd. "For those who may not know," she said, "this man and this canine were embedded as part of a federal investigative operation. Their task was to uncover corruption at the highest levels of Fort Ridgewater. And they succeeded." A surge of quiet pride swept through the formations. Grant motioned to an officer behind him, who approached with a small navy blue box. "Senior Chief Hart," Grant said, opening the box to reveal a silver and gold commendation medal resting against deep velvet on behalf of Naval Command, NCIS, and the Department of Defense. "It is my honor to present you with the Naval Integrity and Valor Distinction." Logan blinked once in quiet surprise. The medal was rarely a award, reserved only for those whose actions directly restored trust and safeguarded the integrity of the service. Grant turned the metal slightly so the crowd could see it catching the sunlight. This is for exposing corruption, for restoring accountability, and for reminding Fort Ridgewater of what true leadership looks like. Grant then closed the box gently. But this isn't just for you. Logan felt Atlas lift his head higher, sensing the moment. It is also awarded to Atlas, Grant continued, the canine whose loyalty, discipline, and courage reminded this base of its own strength. A genuine wave of applause spread across the field, calm, strong, and deeply respectful. Logan placed a hand on Atlas's back, feeling the steady breath beneath his palm. After the applause faded, Grant took a step closer. "Senior Chief," he said, his voice softer, "you reminded this base of its heart." Logan nodded once, accepting the words quietly. Ruiz stepped forward again. "Fort Ridgewater is moving forward," she said to the crowd. But it does so with the reminder that justice wasn't delivered by one agency or one directive. It was delivered because someone stood up when others couldn't. She turned to Logan and Atlas. "This base owes you both more than thanks. It owes you a future." As the formation slowly broke and soldiers began to drift toward Logan, offering handshakes, nods, and quiet words of gratitude, Logan knelt beside Atlas. The K9 met his gaze, eyes warm and steady. "We did it, bud," Logan murmured. "Time to head home." Atlas gave a single gentle wag of his tail, the kind he reserved for moments of completion, missions closed, objectives achieved. With Dalton, Ruiz, and Captain Grant joining beside him, Logan rose and took one last look at the field where everything had changed. Justice had arrived. The truth had been restored. And Fort Ridgewater finally stood tall again. Logan exhaled as the sun dipped lower, softening the sky. "Come on, Atlas," he said quietly. "Let's go home." If this story of courage, loyalty, and unwavering integrity touched your heart, please consider sharing it so others can be reminded that real strength doesn't shout, it stands firm, even when the world tries to push it down. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that honor the brave, the faithful, and the quiet heroes who refuse to bend when it matters most. Which moment resonated with you? The most Logan's steady commitment to justice, Captain Dalton's resolve to help rebuild what was broken, or Atlas's silent, steadfast devotion at his partner's side? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. May this story remind you that no matter how heavy the shadows may seem, there are always those who choose truth over power, loyalty over fear, and courage over silence. And if you believe the world still needs people who protect, uplift, and stand for what's right, comment Amen below. Thank you for watching, and may your path always be guided by strength, purpose, and light.